The U.S. says its controversial anti-missile defense system in the South Korean village of Seongju will be fully operational in the coming days. Both South Korean and U.S. military advisors say the installation of the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System, or THAAD, is progressing smoothly. The two countries agreed to deploy it last year to counter the threat of missile launches by North Korea.
We decided that the THAAD's strategic operational capability had to be deployed as soon as possible, based on South Korea and the United States' common judgment amid recent grave security situation in the Korean Peninsula. Accordingly, after mutual cooperation between South Korea and the United States, we decided to deploy parts of THAAD system into the site so that we can secure its strategic operational capability.
But some residents in Seongju are not happy. They've started a sit-in to try to block further components of the missile system from being delivered. The villagers say it only increases tensions with the north and the chances of war breaking out. Joseph Kim is in Seoul with more on the worsening relations on the Korean Peninsula.
Tensions have been mounting on the Korean Peninsula as South Korea and the United States held a live-fire drill, which was a message to North Korea, calling it a preview of the firepower that North Korea would face if they continue provocations. This comes at a time where North Korea is expected to conduct a sixth nuclear test, or perhaps another long-range rocket test. North Korea has conducted several ballistic missile tests in recent months, and it is showing that Pyongyang is improving its missile and nuclear technology. Now, this comes at a time where the U.S. is also continuing the deployment of the THAAD anti-missile defense system into South Korea, which has been met with opposition by residents in Seongju, or the site, or the source site. Now, residents as well as police did get into conflict as protests did go violent, with some reported to have been injured during the protests. Many of them are against the deployment, saying that there are potential health hazards as well as making the area a security risk.
Well, U.S. lawmakers have met at the White House to discuss the escalating situation with North Korea, but they had different opinions on how to approach Pyongyang.
And I think the best way to minimize conflict with North Korea is for Kim Jong-un to understand unequivocally that if he launches an attack on the United States or our allies, or if he attempts to go forward with nuclear tests, to go forward with placing a nuclear warhead in an ICBM that could reach the American mainland, that the repercussions will be very significant.
The only way to put enough pressure on North Korea is to get China to do it. The only way to get China to do it is to put pressure on China, because they see the survival of that regime as very important. They do not see the current situation as untenable, and we are unwilling to even threaten China with tariffs. Therefore, our very modest pressure on China means that Wall Street wins. China will therefore put very modest pressure on North Korea.
Lorna Shattuck has been following the unusual meeting from New York.
Well, many senators coming out of that briefing at the White House on Wednesday kind of expressed some frustration. They were even asking really why it happened at all and what the point of it was. Many of them had been pushing for this briefing to try and get a clearer idea of the Trump administration's approach to Pyongyang and just exactly what they were planning. But the Washington Post and Reuters have been reporting some senators expressing frustration that actually they didn't really get many of the details that they were expecting and hoping for. One Democrat said he struggled to see the point of busing all 100 senators down from Capitol Hill to the White House for that event. But one Republican did say there is a definite degree of resolve among the administration in terms of ratcheting up the importance of the situation. And another said he felt that the administration is going to continue a very aggressive policy. But when senators questioned exactly what that aggression might mean in practical terms, he said that things got a little elliptical, so somewhat vague. But it it is clear that the US does want North Korea to see this threat of military force as a credible one, particularly given its recent actions in Syria and Afghanistan in terms of using force in those countries. Clearly, Donald Trump wants to show that he does mean what he says. But senators were also really hoping to push, I think, for the use of sanctions, tougher sanctions on Pyongyang as a more intermediate step. And we've seen the White House coming out on Wednesday night and saying that they are considering listing North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism. That would be one potential sanction that perhaps they could get behind.